Let's talk about the reasons where I think he would be in trouble. Facing an increasingly Republican state, and he was elected, let me be more specific here, out of a denominator of approximately 3 million registered voters, there are 70,000 less Democrats, 95,000 more Republicans, and 27,000 more independents. So in other words, the political climate in Louisiana is steadily getting less favorable for Democrats, and as a Democrat, that's something that Governor Edwards has to appreciate and deal with. So one of the things that I've consistently seen pretty much over the last few years is there appears to be a base Republican vote in the state in the 55 to 60% range. Those are political challenges that Governor Edwards has to face. In other words, he cannot run as a partisan Democrat because, quite simply, the numbers aren't there in Louisiana to support that kind of politics anymore. I mentioned before about the legislative fights being to his advantage. I'm also going to argue out of both sides of my mouth and saying that the disagreements he has had with the legislature over the last few sessions and special sessions also is to his disadvantage. So the thought is, if you're getting into repeated fights with the legislature over spending and taxes, the presumption could also be made that what are you doing wrong that you can't get along with the legislature? And the third thing, which I think is to Governor Edwards' detriment, are the tax increases.
So this is a yes or no question for you first, Mr. Edwards. Will you raise taxes on individuals or businesses?
No.
The problem that Governor Edwards, faces, even though the technical truth is there was a reversal of some of those tax increases, the net effect is that the sales tax rate and some of the credits which were taken away are still there. And so the problem is it becomes much harder as a governor to say that, well, there were tax cuts, but partial tax cuts. It goes back to the old political adage of if you're explaining, you're losing. So that to me is an issue which does not benefit Governor Edwards, is the fact that not all of the tax increases were reversed. And quite truthfully, the Republicans can make an issue out of the fact that Lance Harris had a bill in the legislature to ratchet the sales tax down to where it was before Governor Edwards became governor, and that bill is pretty much going nowhere. So, like I said, I think the taxes is something that it's a very simple messaging point that can be used against the governor, and to rebut that messaging is much more complicated, and I think by the time you successfully rebutted it, voters have tuned you out. So I see that as a disadvantage for Governor Edwards.